So I'm Nora Sternfeld and I am here in Aalto University in Helsinki, professor for curating and mediating art. In the very moment I am actually in between two places because I have just been appointed with a new professorship in Kassel that is called Documenta Professorship. It's quite a challenge. Together with some colleagues in the next 5 years we are working on building a new institution that will be called Documenta Institute. And it will be a research institution that is, of course, working with the very, very interesting historical material from and about Documenta that is gathered together in the Documenta archive. Really very interesting, already existing institution. But not only this, we will also be a new research center for research projects around exhibition studies. So, big new challenge is coming. At the same time, I'm also in Vienna, so now I am between Helsinki, Kassel and Vienna. And in Vienna, I am part of several contexts. One of them is an office called Trafocar. It's an office for radical education projects. We work for museums, we work in different public projects, also in the public sphere. We work together with different schools. And I'm also teaching in Vienna at the University of Applied Arts. Together with 7 colleagues, since 10 years, we are directing a curatorial program there as well. So how do I understand my practice? It's a good question. I have been all my life working with other people and defining what we are doing together. So I very much come from self-organized practices. And only 5 years ago when I started here, I started to work, let's say I started to work as a professor, and this means also that I have this, for myself, I have this public function. This gives me the opportunity also to maybe relocate myself in a public institution and seeing myself also as someone who owes to the public what I am doing. I also work as a curator together with 6 people. We did last year's Bergen Assembly in the context of free thought with my very dear colleagues. So obviously my practice is somewhere between teaching, research, doing projects and thinking about what they mean. I hope that with what I am doing I am able to I'm able to rethink what's going on in the world in a not superficial way and trying to understand it, not only to understand it but also to maybe make it possible to do things differently. I think that today everyone is expected to be an entrepreneur. We are taught to be entrepreneurs. We have to act like entrepreneurs. And it seems as if from so many different places this pressure is coming to us and actually reorganizing our subjectivity. That's why it would be not honest not to see oneself as an entrepreneur and also not to understand in what way we are shaped as entrepreneurs in this society. Why am I so sad when I say this? It has something to do with actually the fact that what is deeply inscribed in my subjectivity, because I have learned and have been pressured to act as an entrepreneur, is that I am all the time in competition with others. I'm all the time in competition with anyone else, and in this I have become a number, or whatever I do is turned into numbers that can be compared with everyone around me, with my colleagues, with my partners, with the people I love. And this is a lose-lose situation. Because if I am all the time in competition, I have two possibilities. Either I lose or I win. But if I win, I lose. Because what does it mean to win? What does it mean to win? It totally kills any other possible relation with people. So in this sense, obviously, I can be very happy and proud that my life goes quite well in the moment. But I can also be very sad about it because I totally realize that I live in a world of entrepreneurship and something is compatible with this entrepreneurship in what I am doing, obviously, because if not, it would not work out. More compatible for me than for someone else, because what we have to understand is that if we talk about entrepreneurship, we talk about that. We don't talk about I am good. We talk about someone is better than someone else. And this better is you can base it on some criteria, and this criteria you can put it in numbers. So whatever good moment you have, you can always know that someone else, because of you have it, doesn't have it. You mean what makes me winning?
Yeah.
What puts me in the situation that I'm obviously like, you know, this entrepreneur in myself? I think that you, at the same time, you have to, we know this, everyone talks now about these game changers. It's also so sad, this word in itself, but you know you have to play the game, but you have to resist to be completely normalized. Because if you are completely normalized, it doesn't function anymore. So I guess this is the mixture that makes me function in the system. That I, at the same time, know how to play the game and don't accept to be completely organized by the norm. But yeah, I mean, then of course, let's think further. Let's ask ourselves, is this now a reason not to do it anymore? Or if I am so sad, why am I doing it? Why am I actually sitting here talking with you? And somehow I think that this is not the only thing I'm doing. Yes, I function in this world, but this is not the only thing I'm doing. When I am teaching, I am not only this person whose research and teaching output you can put into numbers and count. There's also something else going on, something that is far more important and far less important, bigger and smaller than everything you can count. And that's why I think I'm doing it. And I would do it if I would lose, and I will do it when I will win, because I have just no other way to go. I came to this term of self-organized in relation with a certain resistance to be organized by others. So of course you come to school and you find yourself organized by the school. And in relation to that, self-organized would mean that in somehow you create the structures yourself in which you work, which is very much, I think, the definition for entrepreneurship to a certain extent. But I'm actually coming from to this term from anti-racist struggles, in which migrants decided to organize themselves, also politically, even though for a certain time it was not even possible legally to self-organize, because if you wanted to do an association, a political association was not possible for a long time in the history of working migration. So they, in Austria at least, where I know a bit more, would have to create either culture associations or sport associations. So how I came to the term self-organization, this was very much in relation to that, in relation to the possibility to organize yourself in a society that has actually structures for self-organization much more for some people than for others. For the people who would have a passport than for the ones who wouldn't, like the right passport for the right country. So self-organization for me meant, and also I think means in a radical democratic sense, that people have the possibility to engage together and to take the means of how this society is organized also in their own hands. So it has a political dimension in it. It is not only a question of making profit or not. Then, of course, when I told you, and I did it deliberately, that I work since many years and since more than 20 years in the art field, and only since 5 years I have like a regular public position, I can say that for 15 years we just self-organized in order to make our living. So obviously, self-organization in this sense also meant that we work on a project-based level. And I would lie, I guess, as many others, if I would say that this subjectivation as an entrepreneur in what Boltanski and Chiapello call the project-based bodies would not be completely what has shaped my being in this world and being in this field. If we talk about value in relation to entrepreneurship, we always actually talk about value as an economic value. We are looking for ways to make things that until now have not been commodified into commodities. And that's why we ask about value and about measuring it. Because my values, like solidarity, freedom, equality, especially equality, my values, I would not measure them. I mean, they are for granted. I would want to take them for granted, and I would want to perform them in my relations, in my everyday life, in my relations. This is what I understand by values. When I start to measure them, I actually turn them in already almost economic values, which means that I put my relation to them again into this chorus line, or myself with others, who is more equal wins, or who acted more on the base of equality today wins. This is a way to kill equality. It's a contradiction in itself. It's actually impossible. I think that as much as we are subjectified as entrepreneurs, we practice what we practice in networks. It's obvious that these relations in the network are a very important base for the way how the project-based bodies that Boltanski and Chiapello are talking about functions. So in this sense, their sociological perspective is completely related to my personal experience. I have been building and part of many networks since 20 years in many different places, and especially interested in not letting myself provincialize within a certain kind of network. So maybe this is one of the reasons for also my success, that I don't want to be kind of imprisoned in the, maybe also these logics of inclusion and exclusion of these network structures. So as soon as I feel that there is too much resentment towards what doesn't hold the network together, and somehow I feel like I have to break out. But this might be one of the reasons why this whole thing also functions. So obviously the network is a way to be much more flexible about inclusions and exclusions than classical ideological or identity ways to organize society. And again here, I mean, it has a very sad dimension. We all know that we don't have more friends since Facebook exists, but less. And we all know that we are not more connected, but more alone. So obviously the thing with this infrastructure is that it has a huge, again here, impact on who I am and how I am. And yeah, we also don't work more in depth, we work much more superficially. And in this sense, I need the network, but I also need to fight all these things that this network is doing with me, because I don't want to be organized by these resentments of these superficial statements that are kind of going around in the network and creating very interesting values that hold together some against others and so on. So I think this is this dimension of resentment and new provincialism that these also social networks create. I need to find new forms of resistance against that. And I don't know where they really are, but definitely one of them is to disagree even with the kind of hate of the people whose position I respect. Artists need the freedom to follow with their own rigor, their own drive. I think this is very important, and it is also a possibility to not be governed thusly. I think this is mainly the artistic freedom, that you have the possibility and the right to express or to work on or to research or to find out, to relate something not on the base of already existing protocols. And that you can do it and follow it in your own terms and with the rigor that is needed to do that. Part of this freedom is actually also to give it up. This has always been part of the artistic freedom, to put your work in the service of something else, to make your work useful or to make it political. So what is interesting for me in this artistic position is that that the autonomy, the artistic autonomy, can come together with a certain heteronomy. That artistic freedom can mean to put this freedom also in the service of something. And in this sense, I distrust the clear division between the autonomous and the heteronomous art, between the applied art and the fine art. I think this division makes it too easy to commodify also both. Because the autonomous art then can be very well commodified in the art market, while the heteronomous art can be commodified in all these kind of new creative processes. And I believe in a freedom that is truly there in order to, as I said, to follow the drive, but also to question the way we are governed and to imagine possible other worlds. For me, collaboration is the condition of possibility of doing a work that is not, in this, as I said before, provincial, that is not already based on already existing knowledges. So if I am interested in knowing something that I don't know yet, I have to collaborate. And in this collaboration, I have to change. Now, the thing is that if I think that it is a collaboration, but actually it's only about me and my change, then it might be something else than a collaboration, maybe an exploitation, or I don't know, something where I just use someone else in order to know something else. And this is sad. So, of course, as in every relation, there is a danger of using each other. And so for me, collaboration is something in which on a base of equality and freedom and solidarity, people do something together. Now, if people do that as clients and suppliers, or I don't know, then this relation is almost impossible to build. And if you think it very concretely in the system of education, the fact that students became clients has completely destroyed the idea of learning in itself. Because in order to learn, you have to encounter the beautiful moment of expectation from your teacher. And you grow with this expectation. Actually, you don't really know what is expected from you, but this expectation brings you in a possibility to go further. But if you are a client, you are in a subject position of expectation yourself. And you will always expect, and you will always feel that something is not fulfilled for you in a moment when you are maybe confused. You will say, this has not been there, that has not been there. And all this, I mean, beside the fact that it makes it very difficult to teach, is in the way of your own process of learning. So the very beautiful history of the educational relation, again here you can say, okay, freedom, equality and solidarity, but even more than that, because there's this relation of trust and expectation, of looking at something that someone has done, but also challenging it. All this is very, very difficult to hold it when this is an economized relationship. And so the thing is that actually the economy is killing relationships. We can think about it also in relation to our love relationships. In the moment when they will be based on a client-supplier relationship, we know that they cannot go on. I mean, learning, I think, is the most beautiful thing in the world. And we will never stop doing it, whatever happens. This is the other thing. I mean, there's also a certain strength, because this whole entrepreneur thing and this client thing cannot kill the need to learn, and to learn together, and to teach each other, and to learn from each other. So I think the possibility to be displaced by something that I want to know, that I can know, and I'm someone else afterwards, is one of the most beautiful things that ever happened to me. And it will never stop.